I think it's very important to understand that the spectrum is very broad, that if we are not speaking out loud about the number of trans women that are murdered every year, then that is not inclusivity and that is not, what we all should be. If one person isn't free, then none of us are free.
He is a Queer Eye OG, a Broadway star, a TV star, an advocate to equality, and an Emmy winner. So what can't Jay Rodriguez do? Please welcome to the show the wonderful Jay Rodriguez.
It's like a huge build-up, a lot of expectation. Hi, thank you for having me.
But let's
Thank you
be
for being
serious.
here.
You turn your TV on, there's Jay Rodriguez.
I've done a little bit on everything, and I am that guy who pops up. But usually, I don't know how to tell people. I'll just put it on social media, and then people get mad when they're like, "You didn't tell me you were on Grey's Anatomy or whatever," and I'm like,
Yeah.
I posted it.
And it's amazing to see your crossover success too,
Yeah.
because not only have you done unscripted or reality programming, you've done, you're doing the whole thing. How's
But
your
even
career?
at an era when I moved here, actually one of my first shows when I moved here was working with Enrique in the non-scripted space, doing a travel show about Miami. But when I moved here, they were like, "Listen, man, you got to pick a lane."
Yeah.
And we don't think, based on the fact you did reality, you'll ever be able to cross over.
That's the
Meanwhile, I
thing.
came from acting, and it was like I erased it. So I literally took Queer Eye off my resume, had to start from scratch.
Wow.
Interestingly enough, Ryan Murphy kind of gave me my first good scripted role on Nip Tuck. I had to audition. Queer Eye never really afforded me the, oh, you did that, so we'll just give you this acting part.
Oh,
that
yeah.
never happened.
No.
In fact, it almost made it harder. That people want you to prove yourself.
Right.
And I was more than happy to do that. Yeah.
And I honestly have to be, because I know you lowball yourself on the fact that I think Jay should also open himself to telenovelas. His Spanish is
Listen.
great, and the guy, he refuses to speak Spanish.
So this is what I've done now. I do a cabaret show, and I usually workshop it in Puerto Vallarta, which is a very gay-friendly beach town in Mexico. And so I really brushed up my Spanish because I'm a lot like Celine Dion. I test my things out of the country first. So
Okay.
yeah, and then I bring it here.
works.
But I really feel more confident, and I think immersion. Like when I was in Miami with Enrique, it was easier because I had no choice. If you're beige there, they're like, "No, sorry, you need to Spanish."
Yeah.
Listen, and when I first met you and you were in Queer Eye and everything, it was like, oh my God, here's Jay, he's Latino, he's out. Things have changed a little bit.
Was even Ricky Martin out at that time? I
No,
don't
he
think
was in the
was.
closet
Yeah.
back
Definitely
then.
wasn't.
So tell me a little bit in relation to today. What was it like? Because you were, opening all those doors. You were starting that game of have always been out and proud. We met you through Queer Eye, a lot of us. But you were going out and you're being the face of LGBTQ Latinos.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I turned 40 this year, and I made a lot of promises to myself about my responsibility to be authentically honest about experiences that I really wasn't open about sharing. And this year I have, because I realized my story is not meant to ruffle any feathers or make people feel a certain way, but honesty and transparency is important. So to that point, I left Queer Eye not on the same plane as everyone else. I was the only one who was doing on the show what I didn't do for a living, right? So Queer Eye didn't necessarily, I didn't get the multi-million-dollar endorsement deals because I'll be honest, they weren't passing those out to brown queer boys in 2003 to 2006. And for those who want to push back on that, it was also the beginning of handheld devices, and many business people had Blackberries, of which they clicked reply all. And I saw their comments about me and why certain people brands or management wouldn't want to have me endorse their product because I was a femme, queer, Latino. And so I was not open and comfortable saying that then because whatever, it was a moment.
Yeah.
But we're so far past that, and we have a brand new exciting cast of Queer Eye. We've got a Muslim Indian guy from the UK, tan friends.
Yeah.
We have Karamo Brown, African American guy who has a therapeutic background. There's so much diversity in this cast. But it wasn't like that when I was coming up. So I'm glad to see the evolution of it, but we still have a long way to go. And when we talk about the LGBTQ community, it's important to remember that while queer men have certainly found their place, and I think in some people feel very I'm very accepted. We are not all free and equal unless all of us are, right? And so I think it's very important to understand that the spectrum is very broad, that if we are not speaking out loud about the number of trans women that are murdered every year, then that is not inclusivity and that is not, what we all should be. If one person isn't free, then none of us are free.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's going on now?
Yeah, so
Yes.
it's been really great because last year was a really busy year for me. me. Eastsiders on Netflix, great queer show, is in its 4th season. I got to open that, which is fantastic. Had a great guest star on Hulu's Dollface opposite Kat Dennings, and upcoming this April, you'll see me on The Rookie in what I would say would be probably the meatiest role I've ever had to date, in a way that you've never seen me on camera ever before.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Amazing.
Super exciting. I also, is the difference huge between, like, now that you've worked with them before with the Queer Eye Boys? How's the difference of the experience on what
Yeah.
you lived and what they're like? Because now, they have the social media platforms,
Sure.
they have the.
Yeah, we just did Family Feud. It was the OG Queer Eye versus the new school Queer Eye, and that'll air this summer. And it was an incredible experience just for, and I said this on the show, I hope it makes it to air, but growing up, I would have killed for that, man, to see that many queer people on one stage under the caption of family.
Right.
Because when you are queer, and especially, my backstory, getting kicked out of my house and everything, for me, it's like we so heavily rely on our family of choice. And I think it was so incredible for them to honor that. And I also said, I don't see it as 2 separate families. To me, it's like there's 10 Fab Five. We all contribute something differently at different times. For me, the experience is different because sometimes, while I understand that, like, I'm a voice for the community in many areas, I'm also at a very different social / economic level because I'm an actor, and so I'm jumping from gig to gig, and I don't have the millions of followers on social media that all the new boys do. And my OG cast, there's this show, Queer, I really elevated them in their specific professions. And I kind of, not erased Queer Eye, but erased what I did on it to really pursue my dream of being a storyteller in whatever medium, whether that's acting, hosting, or the radio show I just finished.
But I find it amazing also, it's like a lot of the Queer Eye guys, like, they stuck to, like, what they knew and, like,
Sure.
their lane. And some of them, like Carson, for example, went on to host RuPaul's Drag Race.
Right, he's got
everything.
an Emmy for that. He's got 2 Emmys now.
Well, but
yeah.
you guys got an Emmy.
Yeah, I have
You
one,
guys
but
got
I'd
an
like a
Emmy.
bookend. Listen, to be honest.
No, but you've been, you did the show with Reba McEntire, Malibu Country,
That
where
was
you were a
actually, to
serious
your point,
regular.
I actually became the first man to garner fame off reality to become series regular on network TV
Yeah,
with that
amazing.
role.
Yeah.
And that was not an easy one. I had to fight for that because I was out of type for what they wanted on the page, and I was like mad. It was like in the Valley, for those of you who don't know, it was like 45 minutes in traffic on a Friday afternoon. I was bitter because I was like, oh, I'm gonna face all this traffic and I'm wrong for the part. Screw it. I'm gonna make the role queer and Latino.
You did
It was
great.
not in the script.
First of all,
Yeah.
I love Reba,
Yeah.
so I'm hoping you say Reba is awesome.
She's incredible. In fact, everything on set trickles down from who's ever number 1 on the call sheet.
Right.
And between her and Lily Tomlin, it was like the people who've earned the right to be divas are the least diva,
Right.
out of everyone.
What a
They
great
were
lesson.
incredible. It was like honestly receiving a warm hug every day, physically, but also emotionally getting to
Well,
work.
and you
That's
died for
cool.
Lily Tomlin. He was on Grace and Frankie with
Yeah.
Lily Tomlin as
Oh,
well.
Yeah, and Lily and I on Malibu Country, which you can watch on the ABC app now. We're kind of like Jack and Karen. Like we got into all kinds of trouble together.
Yeah,
Like I ended
yeah.
up like she cooks pot brownies, and I just thought they were regular ones. And I had like 6, and then we go to a PTA meeting. It's a lot of fun. Well, first of all, let me just say I'm so proud of you guys here on the Queer Agenda. I think that what you are doing here is so impactful and important. And I'm just big fans of the show. And congratulations on all your successes, your win, your nominations, all of it. I'm really excited to see where you continue to take the brand.
Oh my gosh, and
Well-
speaking of continuing, sorry, to
Yeah.
the brand.
I was just going to say you played a big part in us getting to where we are now.
Well, yeah,
That too.
I'm happy to.
Absolutely.
I just love when we come together and align as a community.
Yeah.
And it's so important. Yeah.
Were you surprised when Queer Eye came back?
Can I
And were
tell
you
you-
surprised about the direction they took it? Because it is a
Yes.
different show.
Can I tell you how I put my foot in my mouth as a Latino that talks a lot? The call comes. I'm in Puerto Vallarta again, Celine Dion. So I'm in PV. And I'm practicing my show, and I see an unknown caller, and I'm like, hey, and they're like, hey, Jay, it's the Queer Eye producers. This is the era of the reboots, like 2
Yeah,
years ago.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I'm getting all flustered, and I go outside, I put them on speaker, and I'm like, hey, and I can hear they're on speakerphone, like in a conference room. Now, when my agent and manager call me, and that's an offer, so it's like, something's gonna happen. And
Yeah.
they're like, Jay, we've got great news. We're bringing Queer Eye back. Now, there wasn't even a hair of a breath in his voice, and I dove right in. I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Because honestly, now in my 30s, I feel like I have a lot more to offer. I stuck my foot in it, and then they were like, with an all new, exciting, dynamic cast. And I was like,
I would have been like, so why are you calling me?
Right. They
why
wanted
were
to
they
let us
calling you?
know so that we could be prepared when the media took the story and moved it forward. But I will say, you know, our show was created by a guy named Dave Collins, who's incredible, and his partner and their straight best friend. And then they all moved to Los Angeles after season 1, and we're kind of directing from on high. But we really were run by 3 women, Linda Lee, Lynn Sadowski, and Donna McCletchy, and they were exceptional in terms of crafting our stories and being our point people. This new version of the show, they had our show as a reference where we were just kind of flying in the dark, and we led with comedy. We didn't anticipate it being a tearjerker.
Right.
So the first time a guy cried at the end, we thought he was kidding. Because we weren't prepared. We didn't know that that was going to happen.
Yeah.
What we found is when you just communicate with someone who's different and just come from the heart, all of a sudden, men had never experienced guys just, I don't want nothing from you, I'm just here to help. And all of a sudden they'd be like, and they would get so emotional, you know? And I always say, like, listen, I didn't make millions off of Queer Eye, but if I can equal the times that people stopped me at airports with tears in their eyes and said things like, because of you, my uncle could come out. Because of you, I was able to come out. Because of you, I saw that I could have a career in entertainment and be brown and be queer and be glittery. But you know, it's like, don't ever change who you are, because while people might have called you queer in a bad way in high school, there are people like me who've grown into it, who really embrace it. And now it's like, oh my God, that's the queer guy.
And it's
And
the coolest
it's
thing
the
about
coolest
you.
thing.
Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you
today. We
guys.
just want to thank Jay for stopping by. And for more on him, follow him at Jay Rodriguez.